Caged Bird by Maya Angelou. This is the poem. If you guys would like to have a read first, then you guys can pause the video. This is the first stanza. A free bird leaps on the back of the wind and floats downstream till the current ends, and dips his wing in the orange sun's ray and dares to claim the sky. The poem begins somewhat unexpectedly given the title, with a description of a bird who is free to explore the world. He leaps, flies through the sky, floats down a mighty river, plays in the sun, and treats the whole world as if it belongs to him. So, the diction. All the verbs in this stanza creates the impression that the free bird has a very active life. He can explore the world and express himself. You guys can see this by the diction of the words such as leaps, floats, dips, dares, and claim. The first stanza is full of words describing the natural world. The free bird uses nature as his playground, and he leads a natural life, such as wind, downstream, current, suns. They are all words associated with nature. Figurative language. The stanza presents a series of figurative images, known as metaphors, expressing the freedom the bird has to enjoy and explore the world. The words, for example, leaps on the back of the wind and floats downstream show this. Also, dips his wings in the orange sun rays. Till the current ends expresses the idea that the freedom the bird has to explore the world is almost limitless. The most significant metaphor is the last. The poem suggests that given the freedom to explore the world, the bird can eventually take ownership of the sky. This idea may become more significant later in the poem. You guys can see this in the line, dares to claim the sky. Imagery and symbolism. The image of the bird floating downstream suggests how effortless and relaxing his life is. He can just go with the flow. The poem employs colors to make the bird's life seem vivid and beautiful. In addition, the sun is a symbol of warmth, contrasting with the caged bird's stark and bare existence in the next stanza. Form and structure. The poem is written in stanzaic form. Each stanza focuses on either the free bird or the caged bird. This juxtaposition starkly highlights the contrast between them. Each stanza is composed of one long sentence. In stanza which presents the free bird, the long sentence suggests ease and relaxation. Enjambment is a key element at play in the first stanza. This term means the lines continue one into the next with no breaks or pause, contributing to the feeling of ease and relaxation. Rhythm, rhyme, and repetition. The poem is written in a mixture of iambs and anapaests. The regular rhythm drives the poem forwards and creates a sense of movement, which in this stanza helps express the freedom of the bird has to fly and explore. The first, third, fifth, and seventh lines are iambic. An iamb is measured of 2 syllables arranged in unstressed stress patterns, creating the rhythm da-dum. The second, fourth, and sixth line features anapaest. An anapaest is a measure of 3 syllables arranged in unstressed stress pattern. The combination of anapaest and iambs is very good at creating pace and speed. So, a free bird leaps and floats downstream and dips his wing and dares to claim the sky would be all iambs, and on the back of the wind till the current ends in the orange sun rays are all anapaests. Sound effects. Plosive B alliteration creates a feeling of strength and confidence in the free bird right from the start. Dental D alliteration carries a strong feeling through to the end of the first stanza. Guttural C and K sounds finish the stanza boldly and with strength. So we'll be going to the second stanza now. But a bird that stalks down his narrow cage can seldom see through his bars of rage. His wings are clipped and his feet are tied, so he opens his throat to sing. The second stanza provides a complete contrast with the first. Now we meet a caged bird who has his wings clipped to his so he cannot fly. He is tied up and trapped inside a cage so narrow all he can do is pace back and forth. The only freedom left to him is to sing. Diction. Stanza 2 presents an immediate contrast in terms of the verbs using to describe the actions of the caged bird. Additionally, some verbs are presented in this passive voice, suggesting the caged bird has no control over the things that are done to it. For example, clipped, tied. Words to with confinement create a strong contrast between the first and second stanza, such as narrow cage, seldom bars. Figurative language. The bird's cage is both literal and symbolic. The word narrow suggests a confined and reduced life with no opportunities. Imagery and symbolism. The bird's cage is both literal and symbolic. The word narrow suggesting a confined and reduced life with no opportunities. Imagery to do with caged bird, contrast with the imagery surrounding the free bird. For example, the vivid orange color of the sun in stanza 1 is contrasted with the idea of blindness in stanza 2. Form and structure. In this stanza, enjambment can be linked to the ceaseless up and down pacing of the bird trapped in a long, narrow cage. Each stanza is presented in a single sentence, and the lines are very short. The shape of the stanza creates little squares on the page, like boxes that trap the birds inside. Rhythm, rhyme, and repetition. These extra unstressed syllables extend the line by one beat, as if they are trying to break free of the poem's prevailing rhythm. The technique is placing an extra unstressed syllable at the end of lines called catalexis. The repetition of the word his at the beginning of line of poetry is called anaphora. The use of this has repetitive effect that links to the bird's narrow life of experience. The first use of rhyme in the poem pairs emotive word cage and rage, emphasizing the emotions contained in the idea of caging something up. Sound effect. Plosive alliteration BMP is very good at creating negative effect suitable to the idea of being trapped behind bars. Seldom C is emphasized through sibilance. Assonance is used very cleverly in this verse. The short I sounds in clipped and tied sounds cut off or clipped. The long O in the opening creates a contrast. We're now moving to the third stanza. The caged bird sings with a fearful trill of things unknown and longed for still, and his tune is heard on the distant hill, for the caged bird sings of freedom. The third stanza describes the bird's sad song. He sings of freedom which he has never known except by instinct. His song is heard by others, but they are far away and nobody can help. Diction. The word fearful suggests the psychic effect of being confined for one's entire life. Vague language is used to suggest the bird has no experience of freedom but instinctively wants for its natural state, just as things unknown and longed for still. Words in this stanza create a clear contrast between freedom and entrapment, such as caged and freedom. Figurative language. This line suggests that others hear the bird's song and prompts the question, why don't they help? And his tune is heard on the distant hill. The distant hill suggests that freedom is far away. Imagery and symbolism. There are no imagery and symbolism here. Form and structure. While the stanza is presented in a single sentence, the middle two lines are longer, seeming to break out of the little squares created by the stanzaic form of the poem. The juxtaposition of contrasting words on adjacent line calls attention to their importance, caged and freedom. Rhythm, rhyme, and repetition. The stanza employs strong rhyme to bring to life the sound of the bird singing. Unusually, bird syllables in this foot are stressed. This is known as spondee, and the double stress places an emphasis on the poem's key image of the caged bird. The final line reverses the dumb iambic rhythm of the rest of the poem and reads dum dee instead. This is called trochaic reversal, and it represents the bird breaking free of its bond. Sound effects. Trill is an onomatopoeia which brings to life the sound of the bird's tremendous singing. Alliteration with the letter F is used to strengthen emotive word fearful, and again to strengthen of freedom at the end. So we're in the fourth stanza. The free bird thinks of another breeze, and the trade wind softs through the singing trees, and the fat worms waiting on the dawn bright lawn, and he names the sky his own. While his caged brother languishes in captivity, the free bird continues to live his life of ease and luxury. He relaxes on green grass and has plenty of fat worms to eat. Diction. Trade winds blow in an easterly direction around the equator and helped earlier sailing reach the Americas. The word trade alludes to the slave trade. The final line is ambiguous and open in interpretation. Names the sky his own. You may think the free bird is exercising a basic right that is denied his caged cousin. On the other hand, the idea of naming something his own alludes to the practice of plantation owners renaming slaves, replacing African names with white names. The allusion is made stronger through the link with claiming the sky in the first stanza. There is no figurative language, this stanza. Imagery and symbolism. This verse is quite symbolic, and several words can be seen to stand for other ideas. First, the fat worms might symbolize affluence, prosperity, and wealth. A carefully manicured lawn is also a sign of status and wealth, a detail that faintly hints the way a plantation house might look. Once again, a free bird is associated with colorful imagery like dawn bright. Form and structure. Anaphora is used to create a list-like structure in this stanza, giving the impression that the free bird has more and more options open to him. Enjambment is used to let lines flow one into another into a relaxed, easy way, reinforcing the ease of the free bird's life. Rhythm, rhyme, repetition. The predictable ease and comfort of the free bird's life is suggested through rhythm. The normal mixture of iambs and anapest is regular, undisturbed by any of the catalexes or trochaic reversals that can be seen in the caged bird stanza. The pleasant, dreamy ease of the free bird life is also suggested through rhyme. There are three different kinds of rhyme here: full rhyme, breeze, trees; half rhyme, lawn, own; internal rhyme, dawn, lawn. Sound effects. Sibilance recreates the soft sound of the wind in the trees. Alliteration using W gives this line a rich, oozy feel, almost as if the free bird lives in a dreamy world where everything he wants is always available. The combination of W with nasal sounds M and N is particularly rich and sonorous. Assonance playing a part here too, the A sound creating a pleasant harmonious tone. The pleasing combination of consonants and vowels is called euphony. So the last stanza. But a caged bird stands on the grave of dreams. His shadow shouts on a nightmare scream. His wings are clipped and his feet are tied, so he opens his throat to sing. This stanza is arguably the darkest and most distressing of all, and continues the pattern of contrasting the easy life of free bird with the terrible life of a bird trapped in the cage. Diction. Diction in this stanza is as darkest and most disturbing. Grave, shadow, nightmare scream, clipped, and tied. figurative language. The metaphor, the grave of dreams, suggests that dreams die when a person does not have freedom to pursue them. Nightmare scream. The terrified existence of somebody in captivity is contained in this powerful metaphor. Imagery and symbolism. Imagery combines with figurative language in this word in this word shadow shouts, possibly the most powerful section of the poem. The image of shadow shouting suggests essential grief and rage. A symbol that repeats throughout the poem becomes a motive. The caged bird is a motive for anybody who suffers confinement, oppression, or is wrongly imprisoned. Form and structure. Thanks to juxtaposition, the placing of things side by side, the words in this stanza are made even darker. Where the free bird stands on dawn bright lawn, the caged bird stands on grave of dreams. A dark shadow also contrasts with the brightness of the stanza before. Like in the previous stanza, anaphora is used, his and his. Unlike before, though, this time it creates a list of suffering. Rhythm, rhyme, and repetition. The usual mixture of anapes and iambs create a song-like feel that is at odds with the deep despair of the words. The regular meter also helps associate the poem with slavery through connection of rhythmic working songs. Ideas such as grave of dreams and nightmare screams are linked and reinforced through rhyme. The caged bird's song of freedom is repeated, becoming the poem's refrain. Through this repetition, Maya Angelou asserts that even when things are hopeless, people must not give up. Her poem aligns itself with the protest song and alludes to a long and proud history of defiance against forms of oppression and imprisonment. Sound effect. The despairing nightmare shouts and screams of the caged bird are emphasized through sibilants. Hard consonant sounds such as plosive B, P, dental, D, T, and guttural G and C combines to emphasize the negative feelings in this stanza. A mixture of several different hard consonant sound is called cacophony, and this technique suits the idea of nightmare scream. Once again, assonance is employed to lengthen the vowel sounds in the final line, creating a contrast between the cacophony of the first three lines and the song of freedom with which the stanza concludes. This is the last. The caged bird sings with a fearful trill of things unknown, but long for still, and his tune is heard on the distant hill, for the caged bird sing of freedom. In the final stanza, the poem repeats the song of the caged bird. Nothing has changed yet, however. The last words of the poem of freedom, and in this way the poem exhorts those who are suffering never to give up hope. Diction. It is apt that the poem ends using contrasting diction, as the contrast between the caged and free bird is the most important idea in the poem. So, caged and freedom. The word distant takes on the connotation that the freedom the caged bird sings for is still far away. There are no figurative language. Imagery and symbolism. The symbol that repeats through a poem becomes a motive. The caged bird's song is associated with the idea that no matter how hopeless life seems, one must never give up, even if the only freedom left is to sing. Then that's freedom should be exercised. Form and structure. As well as giving the bird's song a flowing feeling, enjambment connects to the idea of not giving up, to keep going under even the most difficult of circumstances. The final words of the poem are uplifting. Despite the terrible confinement suffered by the caged bird, the poem ends with the words freedom, suggesting that not giving up and holding on to hope are weapons that can be used against oppression. Rhythm, rhyme, and repetition. The importance of persistence, determination, and resilience, even in the face of cruel oppression and confinement, is asserted through a repeating refrain of the caged bird's song. This stanza and the idea within it becomes the poem's refrain. Rhyme is used to reinforce the strength of the caged bird's song, even under conditions of constant cruel confinement. Trill, still, and hill. The last word of the poem is unrhymed, bringing to the mind the idea of breaking free from the restriction. A trochaic reversal by which is the last syllable of the poem is less unstressed, contributes to the effect. Sound effects. Trill is an onomatopoeia which brings to life the sound of birds' tremulous singing. Alliteration is used to strengthen fearful. Alliteration using H is aspirant. This kind of alliteration is very good for suggesting the release of powerful